Okay, welcome everybody. This is a play in our offboarding playbook, really about documenting current and historic misses. So, really, let's recap. The play that preceded this one is the diagnosis play. So, in that play, we decided whether we have a skill problem, an aptitude problem, or a preference problem. Now, again, make sure you act on that previous diagnosis. You may have decided to, invest in skill building, training, or mentorship, or even giving them another role. So what this play is assuming is you've already tried those things and it's not working, okay? And you need to move deeper into this person, into the offboarding and performance management process. And in this play, again, the temptation is to sort of immediately start confronting people, but that's not the right approach. And this play is really about documentation, okay? The mindset you want to have is you really want to think like a journalist. You're going to want to come up with comprehensive documentation. And the thing we're documenting, and this is very important, is behaviors. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple things about documentation here. This whole playbook is rich in documentation. You're going to have to do a lot of it. Okay, you might get a little tired of it after a while, but listen, as a manager, it is the most important thing you have to do. And there's two reasons for that. Number one is difficult conversations work infinitely better if you're well prepared and armed with facts and behaviors, okay? Number two, you actually have a legal requirement. You can't arbitrarily fire people because you don't like them, and there's lots of reasons or you could get into trouble with this legally. So you really want to make sure there's a paper trail. And so this play, we're going to start that paper trail. Now, the format I'm prescribing here is dead simple, but there is some subtlety to it and some nuance. The format is simply what was the work, what was expected, and what was observed. Very simple. Now, the art of it here is that some things are more easily observable than others. And the example I give is, let's say this is an engineer, and they had a bug assignment, and they are expected to finish at a certain time, and they came in late. That's the simplest thing in the world to document. Although, again, a lot of people don't do it. They just go right to the employee and say, you're always late. And then they get into an argument about, what do you mean I'm always late, right? So you want to have this track record, have the facts, okay? And to get these facts, look, this can be historical. Go through emails, again, act like a journalist. If you don't have enough history, you're just going to have to start from present day and start that documentation process, right? So it all depends what your starting point here is. Now, what a lot of people say is, well, what do I do? This bug example is simplistic. What do I do when it's not as simple as, just documenting when people are late? What do I do about more sophisticated problems? Well, your guiding principle has to be that you're not documenting your opinion or other people's opinion. The guiding principle here is you're documenting behaviors. And what I've done is created a little table. It's just to give you a few ideas where, you might have a problem that you'd be tempted to confront with the employee. And then here are some behaviors that you might actually think about. So let's pick maybe the hardest one. So say you have an employee that's just incredibly argumentative, and this has been a chronic problem, okay? So you might be tempted to confront the employee and say, you're just too argumentative. Again, that gets into more of an opinion mindset. Instead, here are some ideas on behaviors to document. You might, for example, write down how much time you expect a discussion to take versus how long it actually took. I mean, really write down the number of minutes. You might say, look, I expected the discussion last week to be wrapped up in 5 minutes, and it actually took 30 minutes. And a discussion of that nature, let's say it was a straightforward assignment kind of discussion, it just takes too long. That's a good example of you're documenting a behavior. It's factual, okay? A second thing you might document is you might document the venue or the forum where these arguments happen. You might say, look, I expect disagreements to take place in my office in a one-on-one setting. And instead what I'm observing, Bob, let's say their name is, what instead of observing is a lot of these arguments are happening in a larger group setting, which is inappropriate. Okay, that's what you want to write down. And the more of a paper trail you have, again, think about how much easier this is going to be when you go to talk to the employee. Okay? So think about what the problem is, then be creative about what are the behaviors that demonstrate that problem, then do the work of collecting it. Think like a journalist, and then come back and see me the next play.